All right, we got an early Bears-Titans preview coming up. Happy Labor Day, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed the college football this weekend. Get those score predictions in. Who's going to win and what is the final score going to be? Go ahead and fire away in the comment section right now. I'm Harrison Graham. Bears, Titans, week 1, folks. We made it. It is officially game week. And I thought we'd take an early look at this matchup. We'll, of course, have updates throughout the week, injury reports, other developments, etc. But we know the matchup. We know who the opponent is, and that's very, very exciting. Kind of want to look at the outlook of each team, and then we'll kind of go position by position and take a look at who has the edge. Bears coming off a 7-10 season. Year 3 for Matt Eberflus. Caleb Williams takes over at quarterback. Some key trade acquisitions: Keenan Allen, Ryan Bates, Darrell Taylor. That one, of course, very recently. Key signings include DeAndre Swift, Gerald Everett, and Kevin Byard. And then Rome Odunze and Austin Booker, in addition to, of course, Caleb Williams. I think some of the more key draft picks for Chicago. When you look at Tennessee, they're coming off a 6-11 year. Shockingly to most, fired Mike Vrabel, hired Brian Callahan from the Bengals staff. Will Levis takes over as the full-time starter this year. They traded for L'Jarius Sneed in free agency, just traded for linebacker Ernest Jones as well. Added Calvin Ridley and Lloyd Cushenberry in free agency, and then J.C. Latham and Devondre Sweat, 2 of their more notable draft picks this year. You look at the injury outlook, Zacch Pickens, I think he's the one to watch. If I had to guess, he probably will not play in week 1 for Chicago. Ryan Bates started to return to practice late last week. He was limited. I think he'll at least be ready to go as a backup. I don't think he'll start. Keenan Allen had a little foot thing going on. He should be fine. That's all the indication, but something to monitor. He had a foot issue last year, so going to keep an eye on that one. But Pickens, I think, is the one that is in doubt in terms of week 1 playing status. DeAndre Hopkins, the name to watch for Tennessee. Brian Callahan said if he feels good, we'll play him. If not, we'll see how it goes. So he's kind of in that questionable category. We don't have an official injury report until Wednesday for either team. So, again, make sure you lock us in here as we will have updates throughout the week here on Chicago Bears Now. All right, who has the edge? We're kind of go key spots for each team, starting with the head coach. And I think you have to say push. I mean, obviously, Matt Eberflus has the experience. He finished last year on a good note, 7-6 over the final 13 games. End of the day, though, there's a lot of questions on Matt Eberflus as a head coach. I like him as the defensive play caller. The players seem to enjoy him and remain motivated by him. But you are what your record says you are in most cases. He's 10-24, so certainly a big year for him. Brian Callahan's a complete unknown as a first-year head coach. So if you're leaning on experience, you would go with Flus. But the experience he hasn't led to great results. So, if you force me to choose, I would say Flus. But we just simply don't know at this point in time. Quarterback, while we don't know, I feel better about declaring this one in the Bears' favor. I think Caleb Williams is just a better player than Will Levis. I just do. I feel good about Caleb taking over, even though it is his first career start. The limited action we saw from Will Levis last year was pretty erratic. I mean, he took over for Ryan Tannehill. It made sense to start playing the young guy, but didn't even complete 58.5% of his throws, 8 to 4 TD interception ratio, which isn't bad. QB rating was below average, and I just thought overall erratic is the word I would use. Like, a lot of misfires, bad decisions, but at times it looked really good. He certainly has the physical tools to be a good quarterback. They've invested around him by getting a Calvin Ridley in here. You've got DeAndre Hopkins. So, this kind of feels like Davis Mills a couple of years ago, where Tennessee's going to roll with him this year, but if it doesn't work out, they could be in the market to draft or sign a quarterback next year. We mentioned with Caleb, obviously it's his first start, but I'm still going to lean on him. He was a number 1 overall pick. Will Levis was a second-round pick last year and didn't show a ton in the action he got. So I will give the edge to the rookie, even though it's technically an unknown because he hasn't played in a regular season game yet. Who do you think is the better quarterback? Type CW for Caleb Williams, WL for Will Levis. I'm going with C-Dub. Hopefully you guys do the same. All right, skill groups offensively. I'm also going to lean with the Bears here. Obviously, made a big investment this offseason by signing DeAndre Swift. You extend DJ Moore. You trade for Keenan Allen. You draft Rome Odunze. Cole Kmet's still here. That doesn't even include guys like Gerald Everett, Khalil Herbert. Maybe Velus Jones shows something this year. They've got several weapons for Caleb to get the ball to, which is very, very important. I don't think Tennessee's got a bad group. Obviously, Hopkins and Ridley's a pretty good 1-2 punch. Tony Pollard comes in. I do think that's a downgrade from Derrick Henry. Tyler Boyd's a serviceable number 3. Okonkwo at tight end is fine, but I think the Bears tight end group is much better. I like Tennessee's grouping, but the Bears on paper have one of the better skill group position groups in the NFL. Really good wide receiver trio, solid tight end room, good running back room. So I think the average NFL fan and certainly coach or front office member in the league would say, yeah, the Bears have the advantage at those positions. Today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. Bears football is back, and so is Prize Picks here on Chicago Bears Now. We appreciate them for sponsoring today's show. It is the best daily fantasy sports app, and here is why. Well, for one, it's very easy. It's simple. Create your account, first of all, by going to prizepicks.com/CLNS using the code CLNS. We'll tell you about a special deal with that in a second. But you select 2 to 6 players on your entries, pick more or less on the stat projections, and place your entry. 2-player entries obviously are easier to hit. 6-player entries, which is the max, harder to hit, but if you do, you can make more money. I've already got 1 entry fired for week 1. Caleb Williams more on his passing yards, 236.5 is where I got it at. Tyreek Hill more on his receiving yards. The Dolphins typically come out firing in September. That's 10 to win 30 on the $10 entry that I threw in there. So if you want to chase me on that one, you can certainly do that. Speaking of Caleb Williams, 1 passing yard from him gets you halfway to a win on Prize Picks every week in September. That's right, only 1 yard. So if you're doing a 2-player entry, take the more than a half passing yard, a deal that is available for Caleb Williams. Pair it with something else. If you hit, boom, you are winning money. Sign up today, and by the way, get $50 instantly when you play for just $5. Doesn't even matter if you win that pick. You're going to get the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. Just go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS. It's going to get you that $50 bonus once you play for $5 right away. All right, keep it rolling here. Offensive line. I'm going to go push here. I wanted to say the Bears. You could argue the Titans. I think there's still questions on both of these groups. I think the depth of the Bears is certainly stronger. There's a reason 10 guys made the roster, and an 11th with Larry Borum is on short-term IR. I feel good about the tackles. I love Tevin Jenkins, one of the best guards in the league, in my opinion. I think Coleman Shelton's an upgrade at center, but still a question mark. Nate Davis, certainly a question mark. He's got a lot to prove. Tennessee, I like Skoronski kicking inside to guard full-time. Cushenberry was a nice addition at center. So, they're kind of the opposite, whereas, their center situation might be better. Their guards are pretty good, but their tackles are an unknown. How's J.C. Latham going to play? How's Nicholas Petit-Frere going to play on the right side? So if I had to guess, I think Chicago's group is better, but I'm going to be objective here. I'm going to put it in that push category. Could go either way. Certainly need to see it play out. Defensive line, I'm going to lean Titans. I think the Bears' defensive line has made some strides, and obviously Montez Sweat really elevated this group last year. But Javon Dexter still a question mark. Zacch Pickens is banged up. We don't know his status moving forward. And, you got some interesting pieces to rotate into edge with DeMarcus Walker, Darrell Taylor, and Austin Booker. I think there's some intriguing names there, but after Montez Sweat, there's certainly some at least question marks, if we're being fair. This front, led by Jeffrey Simmons, Sebastian Joseph Day is really good as well. Tavondre Sweat. Obviously, they bring outside linebackers on pressure as well, like Harold Landry and others. But I just think when I kind of simplify it, Jeffrey Simmons is the best defensive lineman out of these two teams. That includes Montez Sweat, who I love. But Simmons as an interior disruptor is so dominant. I'm going to give Tennessee the edge here. Again, I don't think it's a massive thing. Chicago's D-line could certainly play better in this game, but I will give Tennessee the slight edge. Subscribe and join us for our Bears-Titans watch party on Sunday, 11:45 a.m. Eastern Time. We will go live 10:45 a.m. Central Time, depending on what time zone there. Hour 15 before kickoff. And then, of course, we'll have full play-by-play reaction throughout this one. Subscribe, join us. Should be a whole lot of fun. Linebackers, don't think this is really close. It's the Bears with their duo of T.J. Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds. Jack Sanborn's an excellent number 3. Amon O, Noah Sewell, decent backups, although I'm not super high on Sewell at this point. But from a starting standpoint, it's pretty clear which group is better. Secondary, I think kind of similar. I like the L'Jarius Sneed addition for Tennessee, and you could argue he's one of the top 2 DBs out of these two teams, him and Jalen Johnson. But the rest of the Bears' defensive backfield is pretty much better across the board. I mean, Jamal Adams is set to start for Tennessee. He's a little nicked up as well. We'll see if he plays. But Kevin Byard, upgrade from Eddie Jackson. Jaquan Brisker. Kyler Gordon, I think, is going to be one of the best nickels in the NFL. Tyreek Stevenson. I just think the Bears' back 7 linebackers and secondary combined is notably better than Tennessee. So I think it's going to be harder for the Titans to consistently throw the football than it will be for the Bears. And then special teams. I'll go Titans here. And I actually like the Bears specialist. Torrey Taylor is going to, in theory, be one of the best punters in the league. Cairo Santos is one of the more accurate kickers in the NFL. But Nick Folk and I'm forgetting Stonehouse, Ryan Stonehouse, their punter, were both number 1 in the NFL last year. Folk in accuracy, he only missed 2 kicks all year. Stonehouse, 53.1 average, most in the NFL. Got to give him the edge. Now, return game, we'll see. That kind of fluctuates from year to year. But if Folk and Stonehouse did what they did last year, you're talking about arguably the best of their positions. Now, I would take other kickers over Folk, but from an accuracy standpoint, he's about as good as it gets. So, yeah, I think just based on how they performed last year, you'd have to give Tennessee the edge there. So there you have it. If you tallied at home, 4 Bears edges, 2 Titans edges, and then 2 in the kind of push range. So if that adds up, you would think the Bears would be favored, especially since they are at home. They are 4.5-point favorites, by the way, for any of you folks looking to get in on that action. Predict the score like we asked you to do earlier. Bears, Titans, who wins, and what is the final score going to be? Let me know. This could change as the week goes on. This is our early week preview, but I got Bears 27-17. I think this will be a competitive football game, but I think over the course of 60 minutes, Chicago has the better players. They should be able to pull away. Good early test for Caleb Williams to see how he settles in to his first NFL start, but I think it's paramount that the Bears get off to a good start this year after starting 0-4 a year ago. All right, there you have it. That is our Bears-Titans preview. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and hopefully you have enjoyed your holiday weekend. We will be back tomorrow, probably live here on Tuesday, so lock us in, hit the noties so you know if and when we do go live. You can join us, and until then, bear down.